Hello everyone, this is Ange, and welcome to a new solo project of mine called the Visual Novel Monthly Recap. Normally, I'm part of a podcast called the Broadcast Club, where we have a section to talk about any recent news related to visual novel releases and the visual novel community. Since that team has been pretty busy, I figured I'd make my own series to cover the VN news section in my own way if a Broadcast Club episode can't be released that month. I'd like to keep these videos fairly short, but considering July and August were pretty important months for the visual novel community, I figured I'd use the first video to go over both these months and make this video slightly longer than I'd expect a future one to be, which would only cover 1 month. Anyway, let's get started. So starting with July 2019, I'm going to talk about Anime Expo, the biggest US convention where many visual novel announcements are made. Before I get started with the actual announcements, I just want to briefly mention that I was there and got to meet a bunch of people in the official VN localization industry like Steiner, Conjurer, Hearts, Dovak, Chewy, etc. If you're ever interested in meeting some of the people you know by name who officially localize, translate, or edit some of your favorite visual novels, I highly recommend coming to Anime Expo. Going in chronological order of the VN panels, we'll start with Jast. Their newly announced titles include Yamizomi Revenger by SQD, Mamono Musume Paradise with Slime and Skyla by Vanadis, Eiyusenki Gold by Tenko, remastered Sayano Uto that we'll talk more about later, and a mystery title that apparently has to do with bullet holes in the heart or something. As far as updates to previously announced translation goes, Sumaga actually has progressed after having nothing for a while and is now slated for winter 2019 release. The original Majikoi, or Majide Watashi ni Koi Shinasai, is now for pre-order, and there's even a limited physical copy that will release soon, supposedly. However, Jast confirmed that there is going to be some minor characters that aren't going to have voice acting. They didn't give any details about which characters were going to lack voice acting, but they did guarantee that the whole Kazan family is going to have voice acting, which is a good thing. Next, we have Spike Chunsoft. They did talk about a few things, but of course the biggest titles they mentioned were related to the Robotics Notes series. There's Robotics Notes Elite, which from what I hear is a straight up improvement to the original Robotics Notes, as opposed to Steins Gate Elite, which is a little bit more controversial, and Robotics Note Elite is going to be released in 2020. The sequel, Robotics Notes Dash, got announced as well. In case you don't know what Robotics Notes is and why it's so big, is that it's made by the same developers who made titles like Chaos Head and Steins Gate. Moving on to Sekai Project and Denpasoft. They have a lot of new announced titles, which include 9-9 Episode 3 by Palette, The Ditzy Demons Are in Love with Me Fandisc by Smile, Muv-Luv Photon Flowers, Amatsutsumi by Purplesoft, The Seventh Sign Mr. Sister by Sweet and Tea, Love Sweet Garnish 2 by Canvas Garden, Victory Project by 33 Paradox, and Nekopara Volume 4. In terms of updates to previously announced titles, Baltashkar finally got out of the infinite 50% TL loop and is now currently slated for Q3 and Q4 2019 release. They also announced that Clannad is getting a physical version for the Switch. While they weren't physically at Anime Expo, Nekonyan was able to make a new announcement during that weekend. They got the Aono Kanata no 4 Rhythm Extra 1 Fandisc, which focuses on Mashiro. Lemnesca announced Compass of De Gracia on the 5th day by Catalyst and Regista. It looks like they're going to be hosting a Kickstarter in a few months to fully fund the localization, as well as having some cool stretch goals like a Switch port. There are a bunch of otomes made by Design Factory and Otomate that got announced for official releases for the Switch. These titles include Calyrex Malice and its Fandisc, Pio Fior, Cafe Enchante, Code Realize Guardian of Rebirth, and Code Realize Future Blessings. Axis Games announced that they picked up Spirit Hunter NG by Experience. It looks like it's going to be a horror visual novel, which is what I guessed based on the trailer and what the news said about that VN. Manga Gamer announced Eternal Torment, A Dark Nukige by Liquid, Fun Bag Fantasy Side Boob 2 by Waffle, and the Rants 01 and 02 remix by Alice Soft. Faku announced Abaddon, Princess of the Decay, Anukige by Sakura Pin. It looks like Sakura Pin is redoing every censored CG and making them all uncensored so we can have an uncensored release in the West. Soul Press announced Vicky Horny, World's Horniest Housewife by Laplacian, and 3 titles from Windmill Oasis: Happiness, 2 Sakura Celebration, Witch's Garden, and Hyper High Speed Genius. Soul Press is also taking an interesting direction by announcing exact release dates for some of their VN titles for the rest of 2019. These include My Fair Princess, Onikiss, Choose Your Mistress, and Nukitashi. Unfortunately, as I'll talk about later, the first release date ended up having to be pushed back. Moving on from Anime Expo news, the original Grisaya trilogy was announced for the Switch. However, it's currently only set for release in Japan. The good news is that this release is actually going to have English text. So if you want to read this trilogy on the Switch, feel free to get that importing ready. Alcana's Kickstarter set a stretch goal for a Switch port of the original Ano Kanata no Fora rhythm, and thankfully it got reached. The Summer Pockets fan translation team released a partial patch containing Shiroha's route. A new EVN called Mine Waifu is the Furor by DevGroup P got a Kickstarter started, and it's been gaining a lot of traction. As of this recording, it has reached 100% of its original goal of $8,000. Seems the appeal of this VN is having anime girl waifu versions of Adolf Hitler, Heinrich Himmler, and other normal names from that era. Higurashi Chapter 7, or Minagoroshi, has finally been released by Manga Gamer, both on Manga Gamer's site and on Steam. My Fair Princess, and I believe Choose Your Mistress as well, by Soul Press, are actually going to be released with mosaics, when previously they announced that there wasn't going to be any. It was stated that it was because Psoft, the original Japanese company, didn't preserve the files that had the original CGs. So that's unfortunate for people who were hoping to have no mosaics in those releases. Data Live Rio Reincarnation by Compile Heart and Sting got released on PS4 and PC by Idea Factory. It looks like this is a compilation of 3 original stories that take place between the various seasons of the anime. For example, Rina Utopia takes place between Season 1 and 2, and Odyssey Install is sometime after Season 2. Based on reviews I read, it seems this VN is a good complement to the main story and seems to fit with the writing style and tone the main series has. Sona Hanabira 12, or A Kiss for the Petals, Lovers of the Atelier, got a fan translation patch released by Broken Dragon Translation. Sona Hanabira is a very popular Yuri series, so if you like Yuri, be sure to check that out. Umineko Saku and Kikonia no Naku Koroni, the 2 newest titles by Ryukishi 07, both got announced to be released on October 4th in Japan. The Witch's Love Diary by Q Brand was released by Sekai Project on Steam and was also released on the Denpasoft store. At Otakon, Manga Gamer announced even more projects. These included the first Sakura no Mori Dreamers by Moonstone, something I'm personally interested in, Magic and Slash by Lunasoft, and Uchikano Living with My Girlfriend by Argonauts. They also announced that Sengoku Rans will be releasing on September 12th. The Alcana Kickstarter announced 2 drama CDs for its final stretch goals, and those got reached before the Kickstarter ended. To round up July news, for the final episode of Kara no Shoujo, Reiji Tokisaka, aka the protagonist of the series, is going to have his voice actor be recast from Junichi Suabe to Ryota Takeuchi. It appears that they couldn't work out a schedule to get Junichi to voice him for the final game. And this wraps up July 2019 news. Normally, this is where I would start wrapping up the video, but this is a special episode, so let's get right onto the August 2019 news. Muv-Luv Photon Flowers released on Steam. It is a mix of side stories that take place between Extra, Unlimited, and Alternative, so make sure to read the main series before getting into this. August was unfortunately a month where a handful of titles got delayed. While it wasn't going to be released this month, Nekonyan announced that Melty Moment was going to be pushed back a bit to release one of Hooksoft's newer titles first. Nekonyan also announced a few more secret titles. Manga Gamer has a delay farther than the Blue Sky, since they've had issues with their main site's payment processor, since it tends to decline people's cards consistently. Soul Press said they had to delay My Fair Princess until further notice due to finding a pretty big bug that's going to require Psoft, the developer, to assist them. Local Love by Frontwing recently got deleted off of Steam when it was going to have an international release with the Japanese version of the game. Frontwing put out a statement that there was issues involved with the approval process on Steam and that they were going to work on them. However, this does mean the English version will not release at the same time as the Japanese version on Steam as originally planned. Conjurer, a translator known for translating works such as Himawari, Dies Irae, and Damekoi, passed away at 29 years old. There hasn't been a public statement of how he died yet, but the fact of the matter is he died very, very young, which is very, very sad to hear. Rest in peace. Many people in the VN scene will miss you for good reason. On a more personal level, this does mean that as he was the main translator for Rewrite Plus, that the release is most likely going to be pushed back and Sekai Project's going to have to find a new translator. 9-9 Episode 2 by Palette got released by Sekai Project. It seems to be centered around the protagonist's sister, Sora. While not as severe as the other releases I mentioned, this one did have a slight delay due to its original date falling on the weekend of Kamiket. A remastered version of The Song of Saya, or Saya no Uta, got released on both Steam and the JAS Store. The fact that it got released on Steam was a surprise to me and others, especially given Saya's dark and sexual content, and that some people actually say they like the Asians for being plot relevant. Still, it's pretty big that Saya got released on Steam, and pretty great for it to get more exposure, especially since it's a pretty popular VN in the community. Of course, the Steam version is censored, but JAS does provide a patch to get the 18 plus content. A new horror VN called Gensou Rogoku no Kaleidoscope got announced, and it appears to be a collab work between Ryukishi 07 and Itaru Hinoue, an artist known for doing many key titles such as Canon, Clannad, Little Busters, etc. It was announced to be releasing for PS4, PS Vita, Switch, and is going to be releasing in November 28th in Japan. To complement previous releases, Dr. Diablo released a patch to include voice acting and PS3 graphics options for Higurashi F7 Minagoroshi. Key announced an official English translation for Summer Pockets at a convention called Animanga in Australia. It looks like the fan translation team's response is that they'll continue to work on translating it until Key sends some kind of cease to desist letter or something. Surezure Scans confirmed that their next fan translation project will be Ginino Haruka by Toneworks. They previously worked on Hoshiori Yume Mirai by the same company. So if you're a fan of Hoshiori, be sure to look forward to this release. Minatosoft created a website to celebrate Majide Watashi ni Koi Shinasai's 10th anniversary. In addition, they announced a continuation to Margit's A5 route, and it's going to come out sometime in fall 2019. There also appears to be a new project that Takahiro is going to be working on, but there's no details yet, but it's going to be announced sometime soon. As a big Majikoi fan, I'm always down for more big Majikoi announcements, and this one seems pretty big, so I'm looking forward to all this new stuff. Finally, Ubisoft announced their newest title, Cafe Stella to Shinigami no Cho. It's going to be releasing in Japan on December 20th. There's no English translation confirmed yet, but considering Nekonyan has a bunch of Ubisoft titles now, I wouldn't be surprised if this got translated eventually, especially since it seems to be a popular company. And that's it for this video. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed watching if you made it this far. The next video should be less than 10 minutes since it will only cover 1 month and there won't be a whole anime expo to cover. If you have any feedback, positive or negative, feel free to leave a comment or contact me at one of my social medias, which you can find in the description of this video. See you all next month!